Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the show. My name is DDare Bionic, if you did not know, and I am here today with another video. So you know what it is? It's Mental Health Chat Monday. This is our third Mental Health Chat Monday, y'all. How are you enjoying these episodes? Please comment down below and let me know if I sound like a complete fool or if you like the advice and information I'm giving you, this format, if there are topics you want me to talk about. I always like to hear your feedback and constructive criticism, as well as suggestions of topics, because I'm not perfect and I may not cover something that you specifically need to hear. So definitely talk to me down below. I just like to preface this video like I do all of my other videos. I am not a mental health professional. I am not licensed, trained, certified in any way to be a therapist, of a psychologist, a mental health professional. I am simply a guy living with high-functioning depression who is choosing to impart all of the information I have found through years and years of research and close personal relationships with mental health professionals onto all of you. So you can take what I say with a grain of salt, or you can take it to heart, but I hope you learn something from these videos, just like I am learning something every single day about my own mental health. So today we're talking about something that is very important and very close to me, and that is depression. Depression is defined as a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness or emptiness or low self-worth. It's something that afflicts millions of Americans, millions of people, not just Americans, billions of people across the world, myself included. There are variations of depression as well. So you have major depressive disorder, which can be crippling. All forms of depression can be crippling, let me say that off GP. But major depressive disorder is like kind of on the worst end of the spectrum. Then you have high functioning depression, which is more what I have. Then you have the other little nuances, which I won't necessarily get into in this video because that would make this video way longer than it needs to be. But we're just going to focus on the general idea, concept, umbrella term of depression for today. If you watched my first video, if you haven't, you can go to the little title card right here and watch my intro video that talks about my journey with depression. But essentially my depression started when I was a teenager, and it kind of spiraled, and then I got it back together, and then it spiraled again. And that's kind of a cycle with depression. And a lot of people who have depression will tell you that it comes in waves. It ebbs and flows, and it does, more harm at some times, and then it kind of sinks away a little bit at other times. Just as kind of a background, high functioning depression is not as crippling because you have this like weird willpower. That's not even necessarily the term I want to use, but you have this weird willpower to power through and do things and get stuff done and work through that fog, that cloud, that funk, even though your body feels completely shut down and your brain is just like mush. But somehow you still manage to crank out work. And a lot of times people with high functioning depression can pile work on top of themselves and not even realize that they're having a depressive episode for a full year like I did 3 years ago. So that's just a little background on that. Now I'm going to read these symptoms. I'm reading this from the Mayo Clinic website. From my own experience, my depression manifests in insomnia, but it can also manifest in hypersomnia, which is oversleeping. Insomnia is undersleeping, or inability to sleep. It also manifests in joint pain and or body aches. I notice a lot of times when I am having a depressive episode that my body aches, specifically in my shoulders, like I'm holding a bunch of tension in my shoulders, in my knees, and in my elbow joint area. But some other clues or signifiers of depression: it's more than just feeling sad, and that's the common misconception. We're going to erase that stigma right now. Depression is not just feeling sad, and it's really kind of damaging sometimes when people say, oh, I feel depressed today. Like, cool, I feel depressed every day. You can't generalize the feeling of sadness as depression. Some people without clinical depression, clinically diagnosed depression, can feel depressed. That is a very real and possible thing. But it's so much more compact when you have clinical depression. It's like a lack of serotonin. It's a chemical thing. It's an imbalance. Sometimes it needs to be regulated with medicine. It's a whole thing, and you can't just run around here saying you're depressed. I just realized I don't have my backdrop up. One moment, please. I am so sorry about not having my Mental Health Monday backdrop up. How darest I? This is what I get for filming 2 videos in the same day. Back to depression. So we're talking about symptoms before I was so rudely interrupted by myself. So like I said, it's more than just a feeling of sadness. We're erasing that stigma right now. It can be feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness. Check. You can also have irrational bouts of angry outbursts. You can have random moments of mania, and that can be labeled as manic depression. Again, the thing we'll get into in a different episode. But bouts of mania, anger, outbursts, rage, and it can be even over the littlest things. I have found myself getting irrationally upset over somebody asking me a question. You also have loss of interest or pleasure in things that usually bring you great fun. Like you could be into LARPing, live action role playing, and then all of a sudden you have a bout of depression and now you don't want to do it anymore. It happens. One of the big ones, and along with it just being sadness, one of the huge things that comes with depression is lack of energy. And a lot of times, especially in the Black home, it is equated to laziness. Now, sometimes kids are just being lazy. That is the honest to God truth. I can say sometimes I was just being lazy. But sometimes, and my mom never yelled at me. First of all, let's get that straight. My mom never berated me or yelled at me for being lazy. But some parents do, and that's not okay. So check in with your children. Black parents, check in with your children. White parents, check in with your children. All parents all over the world, check in with your children. Don't just automatically write them off as being lazy, and check in with yourselves. You're not being lazy. You're not being unproductive. You're not avoiding. You might be avoiding, but you're not hurting anybody by your body having a lack of energy that you can't control. Another thing that is coupled with depression is anxiety. You might also find yourself having trouble focusing on things, or communicating things properly. I know that's something that happens to me a lot. I will be in the dead middle of a sentence and just come to a full stop and be like, what was I talking about? It's happened to me in videos. I edit it out because you guys don't need to see that, but it's happened to me in videos where I will just come full stop. Now, there are a couple different things that can cause depression. Like I said earlier, it can be a chemical imbalance, a lack of serotonin, and underproduction of serotonin. Serotonin is the chemical in your body that makes you happy. So doing things that make you happy produce serotonin. They also produce dopamine, I believe is the other chemical that makes you happy. Or is that the love chemical? I can't really remember. I can never remember. There's also science that proves that there is a physical difference in the brain structure and chemistry of a person that has depression or any other mental health disorder than it is in a, quote, normal person, a person who is not afflicted. They've done MRIs and CAT scans and PET scans, all kinds of scans on people's brains who have mental health issues. And there's a physical difference in the way their brain looks, which is actually, in my opinion, really cool. But further proves that depression is more than just being sad and is actually a real physical and mental invisible illness, as we call them. And sometimes depression can be something that shows up just kind of out of nowhere. A lot of times when women get pregnant, they get something called postpartum depression, which I cannot speak upon because I am not a woman and will never be pregnant and never experience postpartum depression. But that shift in hormones can really mess with your body. And lastly, and I knew this but didn't know it. I wasn't really 100% certain until I researched it for myself, that depression is listen, y'all, I have been watching a lot of Naruto lately, okay? I am catching myself up on the series. I started over from the very beginning and I'm rewatching all the stuff I watched when I was a kid. And I just pressed the part in this show where they're talking about Kekkei Genkai, and I literally almost just called depression a Kekkei Genkai.
A few moments later.
Wow, I shouldn't feel bad about laughing. I'm laughing because I have been watching so much Naruto. The thing I read said that it is in the bloodline, like the people who have depression are likely to have gotten it through their bloodline, through, their parents having it and their parents having it. Like, it is hereditary is the word I was looking for. Depression can be hereditary. It is not a keke genkai. Y'all, this is what happens when you film videos at 2:11 when you haven't slept very much because of depression. Now that we have talked about the symptoms of depression, about where depression can come from, let's shift to erasing the stigma of depression and what we need to do to normalize and empathize with each other when it comes to mental health and increasing our mental wellness. So for me, I'm a creative, I'm an artist. That's why I created this series, Mental Health Chat Monday, because I wanted to talk about mental health. Because the number one thing we need to do to erase the stigma, to normalize, to empathize, is to talk about it. If we're not talking about it, we're not working towards a solution. We're not working towards a better future for people who are mentally unwell. And we are not actively changing our own perception as mentally unwell people, and also people who are not afflicted with mental illness. We're not changing our perception of what mental illness is. As people who don't have mental health afflictions, you guys have to educate yourselves as well about triggers, about symptoms, about what to look for, about when to ask questions, because depression is different for everybody. Not everybody wants to be asked, "Are you okay?" Sometimes it hurts a little bit more to have to comfort a person who knows you have depression and they feel you in a depressive episode and they're like, "What can I do to help you?" It's like, okay, sometimes you can just leave me alone. So number one thing we need to do is to talk about it more. We need to talk about and be about changing and ending the stigma, changing our perceptions, making sure that we are taking care of ourselves and each other. Next, I said this in the last episode and I'm going to say it again. So I'm going to need you to say it with me. Everybody needs therapy. I want to... Everybody needs therapy. Therapy doesn't make you a bad person. Therapy doesn't make you inhuman. Therapy makes you better. That's the only word I can come up with is better. So as people who live with depression, whether you've been diagnosed or not, when do you know to reach out for help? With most people with depression, I can say that this is 100% true for me. I know so many people in my life that it is also true for. Asking for help is difficult. And I know I just said a few minutes ago that we don't want you all up in our business asking us if we're okay. But sometimes it takes another person being like, "Look, you need to get help," in a kind way, in a caring way, not in a F you kind of way, but like in a very positive way, being like, "I will be there for you and help you however I can, but you need to want to seek the help first." But reaching out for help can be so beneficial to you living a long, mentally well life. Depression can come, in many forms. Major depressive order can lead to suicide thoughts and actual, completion of suicide. And I believe firmly that suicide is preventable to an extent. I think that you can reach out for help if you feel open enough to reach out for help. And I know sometimes it is difficult, and that is why, it happens. But we can't stigmatize people who have had thoughts. We can't stigmatize people who have attempted. I don't want anyone, not a single soul on this planet, not another person, to die from suicide. But I also am not unrealistic, and I know that I can't save everybody, and I know that we as humans can't save everybody. But if one person who watches this video, who stays to the end, who will listen to my bullshit and listen to me spout what I think is beautiful and powerful information and get something from it and reach out and get help, that is enough for me. Listen, just one person is all it takes. And sometimes one person is all it takes for the person on the other end to receive for them to feel welcome, for them to feel cared about and loved. So we need to destigmatize the suicidal ideation, the attempts of suicide. We need to destigmatize it, and we need to empower each other. I think the theme and the whole point of all of this is talk to each other, open up to each other, make each other feel comfortable. We're all we got. You know, you only have yourself most of the time. You're only in this body with who you are, and you can only love who you are. Certain time, you know, you can only love who you are. You can also change who you are. And I think that's another thing we need to be open to, is change. I don't know where this episode turned to. I was supposed to just be talking about depression. I was not supposed to be giving a self-help talk. Okay. That's it for this video. I think I might have to come back with a part 2 to this depression video, because I think I veered off somewhere and got lost. If you like this shirt that I'm wearing or this backdrop, you can find it at my Redbubble shop, which is linked down below, as well as a link to all of my music, my website, and all of my social media, as well as my link to Lunatide's hair color, where you can get this beautiful cerulean C, which is not fading nearly as much as it did last time. You can find my discount link in the description. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you feel empowered, if you like the message that I am spreading. Make sure you share it with your friends who are also mental health advocates, or people who don't understand mental health. Hopefully this can educate them, because that is why I am here on this earth, to educate all of the peoples. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and hit that bell notification so you can receive a notification every time I post a video, which is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. With all that being said, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.